Here's a video that I'm going to try and make on how to remove the gas tank in case you're looking to do anything under there, whether you're changing your air filter or maybe pulling your ECU out to get flashed, changing spark plugs, what have you. You're going to need to take the gas tank off. So the first thing you want to do is to remove the rear seat, which I have a little video on that as well. But then after that, as long as your fuel pump is good, there's a little check valve in there that won't leak all the gas out of the gas tank. So if you have a full tank like I currently have, there is no need to drain it. I will probably drain mine because I am going to get a drag racing setup with a little fuel cell. So I'm going to drain mine just to make it a little lighter, make it a little easier to store on myself. But once there is no need to drain the fuel out of it if you're just going in there to do some general maintenance. But again, the first thing is you'll take off the tail and the rear seat. Then you'll want to take off these two side panels here. They're 4mm bolts. Here's the front one. Looks like it's got a little washer on it. And then the back one, if anybody else has worked on your bike, or if you put them on, sometimes those darn things crack pretty easy. So there's another 4mm bolt right here. Take those off, and then the panel can just kind of, I start at the top, then I kind of work my way down. A little difficult with one hand, but you kind of pull it off. There is, if you can see, there's little rubber things there. I'll show you how it hooks on. I don't want to break it with doing it with one hand, so I'll show you what those look like after I get it off here. So here is what the panel looks like removed quick. So there's little rubber kind of grommets that you can see there that go on this top shroud of the gas tank that hold it in there, and then there's one right there on the frame, and then there's some like Duralock Velcro style heavy duty stuff on both the gas tank and on the side piece here, and then there is also a little clip. You can kind of see the rubber's broken on mine. The gas tank's probably been on and off this bike a bajillion times. But that has kind of worn, but when you kind of pull the piece, I start from the top, pull it back, kind of work your way down to that, that rubber grommet there, kind of get that one off, that second bottom one, and then you can I pull from the back to get it off that Velcro, and then you got to kind of pull it up and out, and then it comes right out. So that's this side, and then when you do the other side, there is a relay with 3 plugs on there that you have to remove as well. I'll show you that in just a second. Once you get the left side off, you're going to again see this little box with the 3 relays on it. It's held in with this little rubber piece. You can either take it off or you can unplug it. Since I am going with a different gas tank here, I'm just going to slide it off here. You can just kind of pry it off there and then get it off those 2 hooks, and you can either let it sit there or you can just unclip these little clips and leave it on there as well. It's up to you. Either way works. And then on to the next step. From here, all that's really left, bolts wise, to undo the tank is these 8mm bolts that are going into the side of the tank. I've heard of people being dumb. If you lose these, make sure you get the right length, because they do go into the gas tank. Somebody told me one time they saw a customer that came into the shop and they used too long of bolts and just drove them home and popped a hole in the tank. Whether or not that's true, who knows, but make sure you don't lose them. There is little metal spacers I can show you after I get the bolts out what those look like. Make sure you don't lose those as well. And then there's these bolts right here that hold it on. If you're just lifting the tank up to do an air filter, you can definitely do it. It is a pain in the butt, less frustration if you just take the tank off, but I believe those are 5mm. So you take off the 8s, the 5s, and then here, right down there is the connector for the fuel pump. So you'll do those, and I'll show you what it kind of looks like next. Just to show you guys what that little spacer was I'm talking about. Once you get that bolt removed, again, it's an 8mm. There is this little metal kind of spacer in there. You want to make sure you don't lose that. Sometimes it can kind of just sit in the frame there, and then depending on if the bike's being moved, you got little kids running around, the bike gets bumped, and sometimes I've seen those spacers kind of magically disappear. So if it was me, I would take those spacers out there with you, make sure you don't lose them. So just again, once you get that 8 mil and those 5 millimeters off of there and your fuel pump unhooked, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but you would like to pop the gas tank, relieve any pressure in there. Might help get the connection out. And then from there you can lift the tank up. I just kind of grab up on the top here, and then you can lift it up, and then there's two, at least on the non-California editions, there's two vents there. I think they came stock with little metal clips on them. I never really had to undo those clips. I could always just kind of use my fingers and pull those off. And then once you get those pulled off, you should be able to raise the tank up a little bit more and see under there is where the fuel pump connection is to feed the injector. So once I get these off, I'll hopefully be able to raise a little bit more and show you what that connector looks like. And again, if your bike is stock, you might have a little more play with those vent tubes. Since my bike, I last time the motor was out, I kind of shortened those lines and tried to reroute them to make it look a little cleaner under there, so I didn't have quite as much play to get that up. But once you get those lines off, you'll see that that red connector there. That is the connector for the fuel pump. What you'll want to do is from the bottom side there, it's almost like a U-shaped. You'll just kind of you can see, I think there's a little spot for a screwdriver. I've never need to. I've just kind of used my fingers on the bottom and kind of pushed up on either side and able to get that connector to pop up. And then once it's popped up, you just have to pull on that fuel line to get it to disconnect from the fuel pump outlet there. Hopefully that makes sense. Once it's disconnected, I'll show you a little bit better, but it's usually pretty simple. And then a little fuel will run out, whatever fuel is still left sitting in the fuel lines, but it's not a big deal. It seems like Kawasaki made a little drain spot right there to catch the fuel. So once that's disconnected, you'll be able to pull the tank off. So hold on, I'll show you what that looks like. So here is what it looks like with the gas tank removed. Again, here is the feed line from the fuel pump. So there is that little red tab I was talking about. It looks like there is. Let's go around to the other side. I think there is a little spot maybe to fit a tiny little flat blade screwdriver in there. But I just use my fingers and kind of pry up on either side. And once that red tab pops up, you can just pull it off from the gas tank. And then here's that little catch thing in the subframe bottom there. You can kind of catches the fuel perfectly. You can wipe it up and do whatever you got to do with it. And then from there you can keep on going with your maintenance, whatever it might be, whether it's taking the air box off to change the air filter, or taking the top off to get at the ECU to get it flashed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have my injectors cleaned, make sure they're clean for the start of the spring race season here. So hopefully it helps somebody. If you got any questions or comments, let me know. If anybody needs any torque settings for any of it, I've never torqued any of that stuff. It's usually pretty easy to go. But if anybody needs any torque settings or doesn't feel comfortable, getting it tight by hand, let me know. I can give you some info. Otherwise, that's what it looks like. Really quite the easy process. And then there's the fuel pump. So again, if you got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, take it easy. Thanks for watching.